Hi everyone, Nicholas Buffett here from sunny Cyprus, and today's video is all about Microsoft Bookings. One of the applications not so widely used in the education department, but I think it's a fantastic tool. Here are some of the uses. Think about booking meetings with parents. What a tedious job that is. All of this is automated because parents can just go to the bookings page, find the slot where you're available and simply book that meeting. Automatically that meeting will schedule a Teams meeting for you and the parent, whether it's going to be an in-person meeting or online. We don't know, but it will schedule that for you if you want. And once a parent has actually booked the time slot, one of your available time slots, that time slot is not available for anyone else. So all of your booking is managed entirely through Bookings without you having to do anything. Other things that you can do, let's say you want to have prospective parents book on specific dates and specific times tours of a school. So you can set up specific dates and times and prospective parents can actually book these tours on the available slots. Once a slot has been booked by a parent, it's not available for anyone else. You can have more than one person. So let's say you want to offer training to staff members and you only want 5 staff members at a time, for example, and you're going to have 6 or 7 different slots. Then you have this first time, first serve basis where the first 5 people that choose a particular time slot get that slot. Anyone else will not see that available slot and will have to choose something else. The uses are endless. It's up to you to decide how you want to use it and if you want to use it. But I'm sure after this video presentation, you're going to be using Bookings. If you see something you like, make sure you subscribe. Let's get started. Okay, before we begin, I thought it might be a good idea to see the experience of the customer, and we'll call the customer the parents now because we are talking about an educational environment, and see the experience of the parent when they're actually visiting your booking page. So that will give you a really good idea when we're actually creating a booking page and creating services exactly what it is that we're doing. So first off, this is the booking page. You can see I've got a logo at the top. This is just a picture of me, a title for this particular calendar, my TJSS bookings. And then here I've got 2 services already set up. Now, services are things that parents can book. And for example, they can book meetings with the PE department, this one here called PE meetings, or they can book an appointment with the JS specialist teachers meetings. Now, both of these are totally different meetings and they have different availabilities on different days. So let's say they're going to choose one, first choose this one here. Actually, let's choose this one over here first. And it's got a little description here, what this meeting is about. If there's more, they can actually click on read more. And essentially, once they have actually booked a session here, they can actually use the booking page and book one for the PE meetings as well. So you can have a list of services at the top. Now at the bottom here, we've got the available teachers that they can book with. Now if there's more than one teacher, they can actually choose which teacher they want to book a meeting with. Now I've just got some presenter accounts that I've added, and I've added myself as well. If they leave it on anyone, then automatically Bookings will schedule the meeting with the first available person that has availability on the selected slot. Now you can see here in the time I don't have anything because I've actually got the date selected, which doesn't really allow or doesn't have any booking availability. The only one that has a booking availability is this one here, the 16th. And as soon as I click on 16th, I can see all the available booking slots. Now you can see these are not continuous. They actually finish here around about 9:20 and then begin at 12. So there is a space in between. Now, depending on which teacher you choose, you will actually schedule, the parent will actually schedule a meeting with that particular teacher. So let's say I'm going to choose me here. You can see on my ones, my availability begins from 8:10 in the morning on the 16th, whereas somebody else may be free at that time. There you go. This person here, presenter 3, is actually free at 8 o'clock. So if I, as a parent, I don't have time at 8:10 and I've got time at 8, and then I can choose this one. If I really need to speak to Mr. Buffidis, so then I would have to find an availability slot which is available in one of Mr. Buffidis' slots. And again, if you're not sure, as a parent, you just want to choose anyone, then you can just choose anyone and it would add that person. Now, keep in mind, this is only if any one of these persons here, the staff, they're called, is able to take that meeting. So you don't really want to have meetings with or have meetings arranged with staff members which don't actually know what the meeting is going to be about or don't actually teach the child that the parent has the school. Okay, down here we now got the time zone. This we're going to do the settings for the time zone, and essentially you have to make sure this is correct, otherwise your meetings will be totally out of whack. Now then, at the bottom we've got some personal information that we may be asking from the parents. So something like a name. I'm just going to fill this in now quickly. Just put my email. Gmail.com. Okay, and then your number. I'm just going to put a random number there. Okay, now then, at the bottom I've got a little consent box here, and that's a little consent message. This is optional. It's entirely up to you if you want to use this, but if there is something that you want the parents to actually consent to before they're able to schedule a meeting with someone, then you can actually modify this message here, and they would have to tick this box. If they don't, then it will just come up saying that there's something missing. And I've got here the preferred date and time and the consent to book. So I haven't actually chosen a time yet, so I'm going to choose me, Mr. Buffidis. I'm going to say Mr. Buffidis at 9:10, and as a parent I'm going to consent to this. Now if you're allowing people from outside your organization to do bookings, then I suggest this next step is really important. I'm going to click on book, and what it will do, it will send an email to the email which I've registered just now. So if I go back, an email to this email here, and that email will contain a code, and I need to go to my email, get the code and put it in here, and only then will my booking be scheduled with that particular teacher. Now if you are actually allowing this for people outside your organization, which you probably will be if you're a school and you want to communicate with parents, then I suggest you do have this feature enabled, just to make sure that parents are using correct email addresses, and the meetings, especially if they're remote meetings, they're going to a proper email. And it also avoids a little avoidance there for parents just booking separate meetings all over the place, because they will have to use a registered email. Okay, so now let's have a look at setting something like this up from the very beginning. Now this is a new account. I've just set it up. So I've just made sure that Outlook has been enabled by clicking on Outlook and following all the different little steps and closing the little pop-up windows. And now what I want to do is to find bookings. So I'm going to go to the waffle icon on the top left corner. I'm going to go to all apps, and I'm going to click on bookings here. Okay, and this is the window that you get. Now, we will be able to click on bookings here, but clicking on bookings up here on the top left corner is not going to do anything, because we haven't created a calendar for our bookings app yet. So I'm just going to go to get it now, and that's going to ask me if I want to use an existing calendar. Now, whenever we create a booking calendar, essentially what it does, it creates a new account. It's like a new email account, and it needs that account so that it can actually create the calendar where all the bookings are going to be scheduled. I'm not going to use an existing one. You can see I've got some other ones here which I've had and used, but I'm just going to create a new one here. I need to click on add. So I'm going to call that ICT, Depart, DPT, and then the business type, I'm just going to put that to education. Now then, I'm going to go to continue. So what that's going to do now, it's going to create the calendar and the account. Okay, so here we go. We're in bookings now, and the next time I go to bookings, I'll be able to come directly to this page, because you can see I've got my calendar already linked to bookings. And I'm just going to click on this little splash window here, not now. This is to show you that there's a new interface for bookings. I'm just going to click on not now. And we are actually going to use the new interface. It's here. You can use this little toggle switch here. I haven't found any tutorials using the new interface, so this is a good opportunity for you guys to learn the new interface. So I'm just going to switch that on. And here's the new interface. So I'm just going to click on get started. And there we go. Close all the little pop-up windows. Okay, so essentially this is the bookings interface. Now what we need to do is, before we can actually start creating services like the ones I showed you before, earlier on this video, we need to basically set up the business. Now, when we say the business, we're not essentially saying the school name or the school business. We're talking about what this bookings is going to be for, because in bookings we're going to create different services, and these services are going to be related to do with what this booking calendar is about. So it could be, for example, bookings for the school, so that parents, prospective parents, can actually schedule tours of the school. It could be bookings to book meetings with faculty members of a particular faculty or a department like the ICT or the business or maths department. It could be a bookings form which another head of department is creating for all the staff members in that department so that parents can actually have parent-teacher consultations. It may be that you're not going to have any other staff and this is just a booking page for you like I have one so that staff can book training sessions with me or support sessions. So essentially the business name that we're going to be setting up is really to do with what this bookings is for. So we're going to start off by looking here at the three main categories. We've got the calendar, which is where I am now. And in the calendar, we can see down here on the bottom part of this menu, the different things or the settings for the calendar. The next part is going to be customers. In here, you will see the different customers, people that have actually booked using your bookings application or your calendars to actually book meetings. And the most important one, we don't have any here because nobody's actually booked anything through this account yet. The most important one is this one here, settings. Now, this is where you're going to do all of your settings, both for your business, what your booking page is going to look like, the staff that you're going to add, and we're going to create new services. So we're going to begin, first off, by creating the business information. And I'm going to start off by this one here. So as soon as you click on one of these categories here, we're going to see the different things that we can set up. So let me just zoom that in there. Basic details. So you're only going to really need to do this for your business the first time. It automatically has the name of your business. And I call this ICT department. You can actually change that here. It won't change the name of the calendar. Then you've got the business address if you want to add an address. Now, this email here is very important. This is the email which is related to this business or to this bookings application through this account. Automatically, it will add the account of the administrator, the person who's actually creating these bookings. And in this case, it is actually an account called Teacher 3. And if I click on this here, you should see, there you go. This account I'm signed in is Teacher 3. Then if you want to add a web page, a business phone, currency, well, I'm not going to be charging for any of the services I'm going to be giving, so I don't need to put any kind of currency, but I'm just going to leave the default there. You're going to see in the services we can actually add a monetary value if somebody needs to pay for a service or for a meeting. The business type is education. Privacy policy terms and conditions. Now, if you have a URL for terms and conditions or for your privacy policy, you can add those URLs there. The business logo, you can add a business logo or you can have your faculty logo or whatever. I'm just going to add my picture again. There we go. I'm just going to add that one there. And again, if your picture is not square, then it will actually fill the area above and below with whatever color you decide to choose from here. But because this is a square picture, it actually, well, these won't affect anything at all because it's taking up the whole space. Okay, business hours. Now, this I'm going to leave as it is because it really makes no difference to me because I'm going to be creating each service, and a service essentially is what I showed you earlier. So if I just bring this up again, so these two here are services of a sample bookings which I've got. So you've got PE meeting service and you've got the JS specialist teachers meeting service. So when somebody chooses this, I want the hours that are going to appear here, the availability hours, to be the ones I've set up for this meeting. So essentially, I'm not really going to be using the business hours much, so you can leave that there as it is, but you can leave it, you can change it if you want. It's especially good if you've got someone who's usually available whenever they've got a free and their timetable is not being used by other meetings or whatever, and you want to be able to allow other people to book meetings with them, then they will be essentially be able to book a meeting whenever their timetable's got a free slot. Not very nice option, I don't think. I think people should be able to manage the times when others can actually book meetings with them. So anyway, that's it as far as the business information is concerned. So I can just click on save. That's the first part done. The next part is going to be the bookings page. I think let's do the staff next. So if I go to staff, essentially what happens is when I'm going to create a service like I did here, so I'm going to keep using this one here as an example. Okay, so in these bookings, let's say the JS specialist teachers meeting, so if someone wants to book something for this, they've got the option to choose one of these staff members here to have a meeting with. Now, For you to be able to add staff to services, then you need to make sure that staff has been added to your bookings. So if I go to staff, now you don't have to add members, that's absolutely fine. Let's say I've got the bookings which is only for me, and so other staff can basically book training sessions with me. So I'm the only staff member there, so I haven't added anyone else. But I'm just going to add some new staff members here. Presenter 1 at tjss.ac.cy. Let me just copy that so I don't have to keep. And I'm going to add that person there. You can choose a color for them as well. And again, the rest of these is up to you. This is their availability. So this is basically their working hours. But again, when we create the services, we're going to choose what dates and times people are going to be able to book. So these are really not important because we really don't want people to be able to book staff whenever they have a free. So I'm just going to click on Save Changes. I'm just going to add the next person in now, add another one. Let's just, I did keep that presenter 2. Okay. And I'm just going to leave that and just click Save Changes. So currently now I've got 2 staff which I have added to my bookings, and you can of course add more. And that's basically the staff. Now you can change the properties of each member of staff by clicking on the edit symbol here, and you can you've got different permission levels for the calendar for the bookings page. So you can actually add more administrators and allow other staff members to be able to create services or modify services or only read services. You can decide what level of access you're going to give each staff member. But essentially, if they're members of staff, then they can be booked if you want them to be able to be booked for meetings. So I'm just going to discard that. All right, so we've done the business information, we've done the staff. The next thing to have a look at is the booking page. Now I'm going to click on that. Now the booking page is essentially this. So in this example here, this is the booking page. There's a URL which we share with people or you can make available, and when they click on it, they go to the booking page. And if there are multiple services which you've put on the booking page, they can choose which service, and of course they can proceed with their booking. Now, the first thing to notice is here, configure booking page, no self-service. Now, essentially that means the booking page is unavailable. And let's just see a quick example of that. So if I go to this example, I'm going to go to here, go to the booking page, and I'm going to make this no self-service and save. So now when I go here and refresh this page, that booking service is not available. So you can actually turn that booking page on or off. Now keep in mind, the booking page itself, let's just turn that back on again. The booking page itself is like a web page. And on that web page, you can actually share that web page with your customers, and they could always just go back to the booking page and just check what services you have available. You don't need to announce to them every single time. So whenever they go to this URL is fixed. And on this URL, on this web page, you can add different services if you want to add them. And we're going to see how that happens in a second. So if you want this to be available to only people in your organization, then you select this. If you want this to be available to absolutely anybody, in other words, people outside your organization, that's fine. What you cannot do is have a service which is available only to people in your organization and have a separate service which is available to anybody. So in this case, in this example here, I've got this set up available to anyone. So both of these services here are available to anyone. Now, if I was to change this to only people in my organization, then both of these will be available only to people in my organization. What I can do, however, is to change this property whenever I want. Okay, so you can't have two services with different access for bookings. Okay, next step, business page access control. Now, here we've got disable direct search engine indexing. This basically means that a booking page is essentially a web page. It's a URL where your services are displayed. So if you don't want that booking page to be accessible or to be able to be found by search engines like Google or Bing, then you remove this tick. If you do want it to be able to be found, then you simply enable this. Use the newest version of bookings. So again, here you're better off using that because it's the newer version. And I'll just show you what the older version looks like. So if I just change this on this sample here and remove that tick and click save, we can actually see what the older version looks like. There's not much difference. There's a little bit more color on the background and this and the other, but not all that different. So I'm just going to put that back and save. And you can see you can test your booking page very easily and just keep running it by simply refreshing it. Okay, so I'm going to use the newest version. Require a one-time password to create bookings. Now, essentially, this is what I showed you earlier. So down here, if somebody goes to book something here, I'm just going to add a quick, whatever, random name and number there like I showed you before. Essentially, what that does, it will ask them to enter a password which is sent to the email address and the email address which they actually entered here. Now, what does that mean? Well, if you're using available to people in your organization, you don't really need that. But if you've got this available to absolutely anybody, then it's a good idea to have this enabled because it will force them to use a real email address. And that way it prevents really people simply booking many times and making the availability unavailable for others because they're using fake accounts. So that's a good option there. Right, customer data usage consent. This is where you can add your own little personal message like we showed here, and that's the consent message here. So you can add whatever consent message you want, and they have to tick this before they can actually book. So that's up to you if you want to add that, and I'm just going to tick that and put I consent. Doesn't make much sense, but that's fine. Default scheduling policy. Well, we're going to see this when we're actually going to create a service, but these are the default settings which are available as soon as you try to do a new service. And again, these don't mean much to me because every service I change and I have it fixed on particular days, particular times, and particular time slots. I don't use the default settings. So, and each service is totally different from the other one. So it really doesn't help me that much. Okay, customize your page. This is what your page is going to look like. So you can choose a color. I'm just going to choose this green color here. You can choose a customized color. So if you want your school branding, you can add the hexadecimal value here. You need to add, has to be in hexadecimal, but I'm just going to remove that there for now. Just use that default green. Display the business logo on your booking page. Well, essentially that means in your booking page here, it's going to have your logo at the top. If you remove that tick, that logo will not be there. And then the last one, very important, make sure you set what your time zone is. It's very important that you have that, otherwise your times will be scheduled wrongly. So make sure your time zone is there, and that way everybody else's booking time will be according to their time zone and everything will be correct. Okay, that's that part. I'm just going to click on save there. So we've done the business information, we've done the booking page, we've done the staff. Let's just have a look at customized fields. So if we look here, down here, it actually asks people to add their name, their email, and their phone number. Now, these are default values. There are actually 4 default values, I think. But if you want to add your own question and choose which questions you want to add from your default one, then you can actually change the customized fields. So I'm just going to add a new question here so we can see it when we're going to create a service. It could be a text question. It could be a drop-down question. So I'm just going to make it a drop-down. And this is going to be a silly question, but have you used bookings before? Okay, there you go. And my options are going to be yes and no. Okay, and there you go. So essentially now, if I save that, I've got a question which I can use in the service. Nobody's going to see this unless I add it. And that's what we're going to see next. We're going to create our first service. So we've done everything else. We've got everything set up in settings. Now we go to services. Now, by default, the first time you use bookings and the first time you go to settings, services, there is always a service set up for you by default. You cannot delete it because there has to be at least one service in this section. Now, so I'm just going to leave this. I'm not going to edit it. I'm going to create a new service from the beginning. And once I've added the service, I will be able to delete this one. Okay, so first of all, basic details. And we've got these categories here that we need to fill in. So service name, this is going to be Meet Your Child's ICT Teacher. So in this case, let's say it's a parent meeting and parents want to book a time to actually meet the ICT teacher of their child. Then the ICT department may have 3, 4, 5 teachers. So parents will be able to choose the teacher that they want and book a time with them. So description, you can add whatever you want. Meet the teach. And location, I'm not going to add a location there. Now, add online meeting. What a fantastic little feature this is. The meetings may be online. They may not be online. You may not know whether they are going to be online. The one thing that we have learned in education, everything is unpredictable from now on. So if you click this over, this toggle switch here, what it will do, it will automatically generate whenever somebody books a time slot, it will automatically generate the meeting and it will add the meeting in the calendar for the staff member. It will send the email to the parent with the email that they registered. It will contain the meeting link and it will also give them an ICS file that they can double click and it will put it automatically in their calendar. So you don't need to worry about creating meeting links anymore. All of this is done for you. So I'm just going to click on that and make sure that's available. Duration, how long do we want these meetings to go for? Well, I'm going to say this is going to be a 10-minute meeting with each parent. Not 10 hours, 10 minutes. And essentially, I'm going to give a buffer time of 5 minutes after each one. Now, the buffer time basically means if I'm going to be available from 8 a.m. until 12 noon, then my first meeting slot will be available at 8 a.m. That will go for 10 minutes. The next available slot will be at 8:15 because after 10 past 8, it's going to allow a 5-minute buffer, which basically allows me to close the meeting. If my meeting runs over a little bit longer, I'm able to close that meeting, open the next meeting, and wait for my next parent to give, which gives me a little bit of breathing space. Price not set. Well, I'm not going to be charging my parents. I'm not going to be doing anything. I'm going to be charging value. But if you do want to set a price for something, then you can. Notes, if you want to add some notes about this, you can. Maximum number of attendees. Now, 1. If it's going to be parent consultations, then you really only want 1 person to be able to join. However, in the case where you might be doing some training or, for instance, workshops and a meeting online, and you want to make it a first come, first served basis, or you've got, say, 5 time slots, and in each time slot, you're going to allow 5 members of staff to join or 5 people to join, then you can adjust this to make it 5. And that basically makes, let's say, 8 a.m. available to be booked 5 times by 5 different people. And that way you manage how many people are allowed to join that meeting. And if somebody doesn't manage to book that meeting because it's already been booked by 5, they will have to choose another slot if there is another slot available. Okay, but for parents, I only want 1 attendee because I don't want another parent joining in the meeting while I have a meeting with another parent. Okay, let customers manage their appointment when it is booked by you or your staff on their behalf. No, I don't, because when they start making changes, it just confuses them. So if I'm going to book the meeting for them and I can do that through the calendar, I don't want them to be able to modify. I will only do this if we've already had the discussion or we've approved anything. I'm going to leave that to off. I'm going to click Save Changes. Now, I haven't even looked at this part yet. I'm going to go over these slowly. So let's just go to Save Changes on that first one, Basic Details. You don't have to save changes yet, but it's a bit of a habit for me. Whenever I do something, I like to save first. Okay, so you can see here it's actually made my scheduled meeting here. And now this initial one that was here, I can actually delete. So I'm just going to get rid of that one now. Okay, so I've already created this and I've already got, the link to this and everything, but I'm not going to open it up yet. Let's go and edit it. So I can edit it from here, or I can simply go here and click on the edit button. Let's go to the availability options. Now, here's where it gets, we're going to have a look at some of these settings on the left. Now, you can see here it's using the default values. Remember when we were doing the booking page and it had the default values? The booking page is actually this part here. And I said, well, I don't normally change those. Well, this is the reason why I don't want to use these. But right now, it's not allowing me to click or change any of these. And that's because on the left hand side here, it says default scheduling options, use the default online scheduling policy. Well, I don't want to use the default policy, so I'm just going to click on that to remove it. And these are now available for me to modify. So the first thing is my time increments when they're going to be scheduling their meetings with me. So these time increments here, you can see them here. They are going to be, because my meetings are going to be 10 minutes long, I'm just going to set this to 10 minutes. The minimum lead time is, what is the latest time that someone can book a meeting with me? I don't want to allow people to book a meeting with me, you know, an hour before the meeting or the night before. So I'm just going to change that. So from 24, I'm going to change it to 48 hours, 2 days before. I think that's good enough. And what is the earliest that they can book a meeting? Well, I don't want it a year. I'm going to make it 14 days. Again, there's no way I'm going to remember a meeting or expect to remember anything, even if it is scheduled in my calendar a year in advance. Availability. Now, here's where we need to have a look at this and understand what's happening. If I leave this here, bookable when staff are free, this essentially means that it's going to open all the possible time slots according to my calendar. So let's say on Mondays I don't have any lessons, then that makes me open for anybody to book a lesson or book a meeting with me anytime in the business hours that we put in the business section on a Monday. In other words, if we have a look at this, let me just do save changes here very quickly and just go to the business information. Now that's going to be any time between 8 and 5 p.m. I don't want that. So I'm going to go back to my services and edit this and go to my availability. So I want to be unbookable, not bookable at all in any of my frees. I want to say when I'm going to be available. So first of all, I'm making this totally not bookable for anybody, not just me, but any staff members that I'm going to add in a second. And then I'm going to click on this option here, set different availability for a date range. Now here I'm going to set the date. So let's say I've got parent consultations on the 25th of February. And I only want this to be a 1 day long open window from the 25th to the 25th inclusive. So this is only on this day. And then I'm going to say bookable when staff are free. No, because that basically means parents will be able to book meetings with the teachers which are applied to this service anytime they're free on a Friday. Now, I'm just going to click on that. And I'm going to say customized hours reoccurring weekly. Now, reoccurring weekly in this case doesn't really make any sense because this is only a 1 day thing. And it's on the 25th. 25th is a Friday. But if I did make this from the 25th of February all the way to the 25th of March, I could make this repeating on every Monday and Wednesday, for example. Basic calendar scheduling. So I'm just going to put that back to February. So this is a 1 day thing. The 25th is a Friday, so these make no difference here. I'm only going to leave the Friday available. And I'm going to say on the Friday, I'm going to be available for bookings from 9 until 11 a.m. And then I want to give myself a small break. So I'm just going to add from here, and I'm going to give myself a break from until 12. And then I'm going to be available from 12 on until 3 p.m. So I've got here availability between 9 and 11 and 12 and 3, essentially 5 hours. And again, if you want to add another day, let's say the 25th and then the 28th, you can add another particular date or a date range and make that available from there. And you will choose what times you will be available, if it's reoccurring, so on and so forth. So you can do multiple scheduling there. I'm going to leave that there for now. I think that's just fine. I'm going to click on Save Changes again. And now I'm going to go back to Edit again. So I've done the basic details. I've done my availability. I'm now going to assign my staff. Now, remember before here in the business information, in the staff section here, I added some staff members. If you don't add any staff members here, they will not be available to be added in any of your services. So any staff that you add, you can use in any of your services. So in this case, I'm going to edit this service, go to assign staff, and I'm going to say me, test teacher, which is this account, I'm available, but also presenter 1. Presenter 2 is not needed for this. Let's say this is for Key Stage 3 and Presenter 2 teaches Key Stage 4 and 5. Okay, so I'm not going to leave them in this particular meeting. And I'm just going to click on Save Changes here. And I'm going to make sure this is ticked. Okay, allow customers to choose a particular staff for booking, because that does this. When I go from here and I'm going to choose, let's say this one, parents are able to now choose which teacher they want to book a meeting with. And that's what that toggle switch does there. So I'm just going to leave that enabled, click Save Changes. Okay, now I'm going to go back to edit. I know this is tedious, I'm going backwards and forwards, but I like to save my changes whenever I complete a section. Customize fields. Now from here you've got different fields that you can actually choose to ask information from the parents or whoever's doing the booking, or whoever's scheduling a meeting. So you can remove questions, you can add them from here. I'm going to remove the customer notes and the customer address, and I'm going to make both of these required. Now down here you can see I've got this one which I made earlier. Remember we went in the settings, the customized fields, this one here. We actually added a question. So if I want to include this question in my bookings page, then I can. So I'm just going to select it and I'm going to make it required. It's up to you. Save changes. And there we go. I'm just going to go back again to edit, and here's the last one. Reminders and notifications. Now, if you want to send out reminders, so you can notify the business by email when a booking is created or changed. What does that mean? Well, when you set up the business information from here, we actually put a business email address, and that's this person here. Essentially, it was automatically the email the person who created this bookings page. So whenever a booking is made, this person will get an email. Go to edit. So other parts of reminders, you can also send a meeting invite to the customer in addition to the confirmation email. I like sending that because they just get a meeting invite as well. You can add a small note here, remember our meeting, or you can write something which is more, makes a little bit more sense. Reminders and confirmations, I can add an email reminder, let's say a week in advance, or let's say 15 minutes in advance if it's like parent meetings in the same day. And you can send this to whoever you want. I'm going to send that to the customer. You can add well, actually, let's put that down here. You can add something else up here in the email that there's going to be sent. I'm not going to say remember our meeting. I'll probably say thank you for booking a meeting. Okay. And then you can add some more things, a day reminder, so on and so forth. You can just mess around with that. Save changes. Okay, the last thing that we need to do now is to have a look at the publication, or how we share the booking page. Now, the booking page we already set up. From here, we set up all the settings, and essentially all of your services will be published in this booking page. However, if you have more than one service, so let's just see what the toggle switch is. If I go to this service, you can see this toggle switch here, publishing options, show this service on the booking page. Now, if you have that enabled, then people are going to be able to book or schedule meetings through that booking service. Now, if I close that, how do we get the link, or what do we share with our customers? Well, essentially the booking page, think of it like a web page, a URL. Whenever somebody goes to that URL, whatever you've got enabled or displayed on that URL on that web page, they will have access to it. And it'll be easier to demonstrate this using this page here. So in this page here, I've actually got 2 services already set up. Now, anytime you go to any one of these services and just click on it, you can see on the right hand side, we see some of the overview. You've got service details, so on and so forth. However, you get the link to the booking page. Now, both of the links here, this link here, if I copy it and paste it up here, that link is going to be exactly the same whether I go to from here or from here. In fact, it's the same even if I go to booking page and copy the booking page link from here. So what is the purpose of the booking page? Well, let's have a look. If I go to services here and just go to edit to the first one, I'm going to make sure this one's published on the booking page, save changes, and I'm going to make sure this one is also published on the bookings page, save changes. When I now go to my booking page by getting the link either from one of these services or going to the booking page, it makes no difference at all. And I publish that. Now you can actually make this a link into your school's website, so somebody can go to the bookings page and just see what's available. Because I made both of them published, you can see both of these services are published on this booking page, and customers or parents can actually choose which one they want to book something for. So let's say it's a parent evening and you've got various departments. You can put all of these departments, all these different services, let's say your class teacher, specialist teachers, and maybe a meeting with the head teacher. So you can have 3 services, and each service will have different time slots, different people that they can book with, and they could just do all of this from one single URL, one booking page. Now, if you want to remove a service from the booking page, all you have to do is go to services, choose the service that you want to remove, and simply move that slider switch over. Save changes. And now if you go to the bookings page and refresh, that one's not available and only this one is. So you can choose what's available and when it's available. Now remember, where some confusion lies is some people were asking me and they thought that this was an individual booking for the service itself, whereas it's not. So this one here, because it's disabled, can you see? It's not being published, and since it's not published, if I use this link from here, it's still going to take me to the general booking page. So it's not going to show me the PE teachers. Again, it's going to show me the JS specialist teachers meeting. And that's because it's the general booking page. So it's a fantastic little way to have different departments all displayed in one page, making it super easy for parents just to choose what they want and book with their teachers, their children's teachers. You may want to have, for example, year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, year 6, and they choose which year their child is in. And then when they click on that, they would then go from here where the staff is and choose the teacher of their child, and then just book a meeting with that child. Now what happens is that particular teacher that they chose will have the meeting scheduled in their calendar. The parent will get the meeting link via email, and they have the choice to see that email book in their own personal Outlook from the ICS file, schedule it in their calendar. So I'm going to do a booking and show you a sample of these meetings, the actual emails that are going to be received. So let's use this one that I've set up here. So I'm going to take my bookings page. I'm going to open it here. I'm going to go like a parent and simply book this meeting. So meet your child's ICT teacher. I'm going to, instead of anyone, I'm going to choose test teacher, which is actually me here. And you can see the only day which is available is the 25th, as I said. There you go, the letters in black, everything else is grayed out. And I can see that all the available time slots are there because no one's booked anything. So I'm going to, and you can see that the time slots are actually every 10 minutes. So if I choose that one at 9, I can now go add my details, my email address. Actually, let's do. I can add my phone number. I'm just going to add a random number there. Additional information. Have you used bookings before? Yes, I have. And I consent to whatever it is that I'm consenting to. Now, straight away, as soon as I do this, okay, and there you go. I've got this verification code here that's popped up. So I need to go and check my email now. So I'm just going to show you what that email looks like. And this has been received from my Gmail account. There it is there. This is the email that I just received. And my code is 947543. So I'm just going to copy that over and paste that there and continue. There you go. And now that it's actually accepted the booking, my verification code is correct. I've got here my information. Meet your child's ICT teacher, the 25th of February at 9 o'clock. It's 10 minutes. You're going to be talking to test teacher. and I can either reschedule something, I can cancel the booking, or I can make a new booking. So if I wanted to reschedule, then I can just click on that and just change my time, and the teacher will be able to get a reschedule from there. So if I just go back to that, now as a parent, I have received 2 emails, and because I said I was going to receive 2 emails when we had the settings. I'll show you where those settings are. This is the first email which I've got. Okay, so it gives me here, your appointment will be with test teacher, ICT department, and I've got everything in here, and it's actually scheduled my meeting here. You can see that there. Perfect. Really, really easy for me. And it's also got my Teams meeting. Join the Teams meeting from here. Okay, and I can click on accept, and if I click on accept, there you go, it should go in my calendar, which I'll have a look at in a second. And this is the other email that I get. This is my confirmation email, where I've also got my join your appointment, and I've also got the booking ICS, so I can actually double click on this. So the one's a confirmation, and this is your email with your meeting links and everything. Okay, and you can also from here go and do a reschedule. So very, very user friendly, very useful for parents, so that they can manage their bookings. And by clicking on the booking, the ICS, you can actually attach this, add this internet calendar to Outlook. Now if I go to Outlook and have a look, because I already accepted it, here's my, I'm going to bring up my Microsoft Outlook and go to my calendar. You can see I'm on the 25th. There's my meet your child's ICT teacher. Now this is me as a parent, although it's added it in there, and there you go. If I double click on this, I've got my Teams meeting link here all set up for me. So easy to do, and the teacher on their behalf will also get that. So let's go see what the teacher has as well. So if we go to the teacher account, and I'm going to go to the Outlook, let me just close that, go to Outlook. You see I've got this this here, so this is a new booking. This is from Nigos Bafidis, me the parent. And if I click on that, it's got their join your appointment, and there you go. There's that. I think I did 2 bookings, didn't I? 1, 9, and 10. There you go. And if I go to my calendar, there you go. There it is there, already set up for me. Now I do suggest, if you're going to have like a lot, like 10-minute meetings, instead of looking at a monthly view, you're better off looking at a day view. Otherwise it's going to be really hard to see all those different meetings because they're so close together. Whereas on a day view, you can actually get them listed like this. And if I simply click on that, look at that, I can join my Teams meeting. Fantastic. Bookings is awesome. Okay, I think that's about it. I hope you've learned everything about bookings that there is to learn. If you have learned something new, you have enjoyed this video, and you're going to use bookings, I'd really like to hear from you. But make sure you click like and make sure you subscribe. And I'll see you again in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.